Are polar bears. Well, it looks like weird because polar bears looks totally like a land mammal. But in real life, if you remember, they live in the North Pole, and North Pole is just a frozen ocean. That's why we consider the polar bears as the first of marine mammals. And also because most of the food comes from the ocean too. They feed on seals, sea lions, and walruses. The next group is the sea otters. This group, they're a little bit more adapted to the water. Actually, they go to the land just to mate, to have their babies, and for protection, because they live on the shoreline. When they have big storms, they have to go to the land. The rest of the time, they stay in the water, and all their food comes from the ocean too. Next group. All right. Next group is the pinnipeds. Those are seals and sea lions. And the name pinniped means who walks with the flippers, because this group, they already changed the arms and the legs into a real flippers. But we're still able to see the fingers and the nails, and they can move it like hands. Well, this group, they spend more time in the water. They go to the land to mate, to have their babies, and to rest. Next group. Sirenians, those are the manatees. This group, they already lose their legs. They don't have legs anymore. They have just the tail for propulsion. On the flippers, we cannot see the fingers again, but they still have nails on the flippers. And this group, they don't go to the land again. They stay in the water all the time, but they can walk. Not in land, but in the bottom of the ocean, they can move the flippers like an arms to walk a little bit. And well, this is the only marine mammal vegetarian. The rest of them, all of them, they eat meat, except this one. And the last group, and most adapted group to the water, to the ocean, are cetaceans. In this group, we can find dolphins and whales. But if we're talking about each one of those groups, they're a little bit more adapted to the water than the last one. That means all of them, they come in from land. In the case of whales and dolphins, those are the ancestors. The first one in the top is the Pachycetus. They call it like that because it was discovered in Pakistan, and is the first cetacean. All right, and well, this is the first of cetaceans. That animal used to live 50 million years ago, and with the time you can see how they change until they have the shape for all dolphins and whales we have today. But even with all those changes, they still mammals. And mammals, we share certain characteristics that make us different from fish, reptiles, or birds. The main characteristics of the mammals are 6. First one, they have 5 fingers. And here we have a dolphin flipper. Okay, well, this is a dolphin flipper. And you can see this bone is like the bone we have in here, the 2 bones we have on the arm, and then the 5 fingers. It is covered totally by the skin, like in here. That's why we don't see the fingers, but this is what is inside. Some of the actual mammals, like horses, for example, they step in just 1 finger. But if you go into the past of the horses, soon you're going to see an ancestor of a horse with 5 fingers, because the first of all mammals, he used to have 5. The other characteristic is hair. Nobody expects to see a whale. Well, in the case of dolphins, when they're newborn like this one, they have a tiny mustache around their mouth. Look at this. Doesn't look like very important, but some researchers, they speculate they use this little mustache to locate the mother's breast. As soon as they know what it is, they don't need it anymore, and probably that's why they lose it in the first couple of weeks. Okay, then we can go to something else.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. Something else we can.
Peter.
Huh?
It was Peter.
Yeah, it was Petre. Yes. Then.
Yeah, what was it? It's something. It's boring. Born. Newborn.
How they born?
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, here is more interesting because those are the characteristics.
Great.
Okay. For the shape they have, like torpedo shape, is something more hydrodynamic. They don't have external organs like we do. They have just those slits where they hide in or taken out when they need it or not. First one is the umbilicus. Second one is the genital slit. Last one is the anus, but you can see some difference between those two. First, the distance here is a little bit shorter here. And second, they have another two slits in the size of a genital ones. That's the breast. This is the female, and this is the male. In most cases on cetaceans, that's the only difference between sex, and it's very hard to distinguish one from another. Let's see a real photograph about the genital area, and you can see the genital slit together with the anus and then the breast. That's a female orca. Okay, let's pass something else. Let me see something interesting for them. Well, this part is interesting, how they get the milk. All right. To feed their young is a little bit different because cetaceans doesn't have flexible lips. They cannot suck the milk. And instead of that, the mother has some muscles around the breast to push and takes the nipple out. The baby just go to the area, open their mouth, they twist their tongue around the nipple, and they start sucking with the tongue, just like this. What you can see here is the mouth of the orca, and this is the tongue. They're gonna try to put it around this thing to feed them with milk. Well, this group of cetaceans are divided in two smaller groups. One is toothed cetaceans, all of them have teeth. And here we have some little examples of that. This is a dolphin teeth. You get it?
Yeah.
All right. This is a false killer whale teeth. You can see it's very big. But the bigger one is the sperm whale tooth. That's a big one. All of them, they have teeth, but you can see all their teeth are very similar. That's because they don't chew their food. They just use it to trap their prey, and they swallow complete. The other group is the baleen whales. This group, they don't have teeth. They have those plaques, and just in the upper jaw, in the lower jaw, doesn't have nothing. And well, those are these plaques. Okay, the way to use this is very simple. They open their mouths, they catch lots of water with the food on it. Then, with the tongue, they expose the water out here, and all the food gets trapped inside. It's just a filter, and it's made by keratin, just like our nails. Okay, another difference between toothed whales and baleen whales. Toothed whales, they have just one blowhole. No se quiere cambiar ahora. Whales, they have two. But the position of the nasals are very important. Original, they have the position of the nasals right here in front of the face, like a dog, like in the case of the Pachycetus. But with the time, they move it here in the top of the head. The reason to do that is because the eye is more or less here. In that way, they just break the surface and they can breathe. They don't have to take the face out of the water. That gives them the chance to be aware on prey or predators under the water first, and second, save a lot of energy, because in that way they don't have to stop to breathe. They can continue moving.